We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with an interesting update regarding another potential return for the upcoming all-women's Evolution 2 event. As many of you are likely aware, Nikki Bella returned to WWE on this past Monday's episode of Raw, hyping up Evolution, which is set to go down on July 13th in Atlanta, Georgia, with WWE clearly hinting at a match between Nikki Bella and one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions Liv Morgan. But with the news that has just been revealed, perhaps WWE are planning something a lot more special than just a one-on-one match between Liv and Nikki. Now, it has been reported through TMZ Sports that Brie Bella is reportedly in talks with WWE to step out of retirement and provide backup for Nikki Bella at Evolution, with What Culture Wrestling reporting, quote, "With Nikki Bella having made her WWE return on this week's Raw, it looks as if the Flawless One could soon be joined by her twin sister, Brie." As first reported by TMZ Sports, a source with direct knowledge of the situation told the outlet that Brie Bella is currently in talks to step out of retirement to provide backup for Nikki at the upcoming Evolution PLE. And while this is purely speculation at this point, we would not at all be surprised if WWE are setting up a Women's Tag Team Championship match at Evolution between the Bella Twins and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. The tension has been growing between Liv and Raquel in recent weeks, with it seeming like their alliance is about to end, and perhaps Triple H is planning for Liv and Raquel to break up soon, which would mean that they'd be losing their titles, and it's possible that WWE are planning for the Bella Twins to have a run with those Women's Tag Team Championships and be the ones to dethrone Liv and Raquel of the Gold at Evolution next month. Now, there was some downright scary news revealed regarding WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker earlier today, because for those of you unaware, The Undertaker underwent heart surgery fairly recently, with Taker and his wife Michelle McCool discussing his terrifying health situation leading into the WrestleMania 41 weekend, also talking about his heart surgery during a recent episode of his podcast, and we'll provide you guys with a back and forth conversation between Undertaker and Michelle, and all we can say is thank goodness Taker is okay. Quote, "It's because of the heart issues you've been having weeks prior, which by the grace of God we found out just by it ended up being terrifying. The day we got home from WrestleMania the next day at 6 a.m., we were at the hospital for a little bit of heart surgery. Just a little bit. It was your heart. There was that little sidebar going on. A sidebar for 5 weeks, it was terrifying. I wasn't supposed to go to Vegas. You weren't supposed to go anywhere. You didn't want me to tell anybody. Not fair to me, not fair. We were in the hospital for 4 nights 2 weeks before WrestleMania. Yeah, you weren't supposed to go. I'm not mad at it because I'd probably be the same way. But it was terrifying. I couldn't focus on anything else. All I wanted to focus on was you, your heart, and getting you in with the best cardiologist, which we eventually did, but that took a lot of phone calls, several nights in the hospital. By the grace of God, you are here, but out of the words of the doctor himself, it could have turned out badly had we not found it that day. You did. You made me go have a test done. I did. That I had scheduled in January, that's crazy about it. You went to the doctor March 28th. I'll never forget. Then you called me and you were like, they won't run the heart exam, just a routine heart scan that we were gonna do. I didn't even know that anything was wrong. Got you into another appointment about an hour later. They had one appointment open. Come to find you, you had been in chronic AFib for who knows how long. But the scary part was that you didn't feel any symptoms, so we didn't know. Yeah, you came in a few times out of breath and I'd bust your balls like, dude, you were just throwing the ball with the dog, why are you so out of breath? Or going up the stairs to pray with the kids, why are you out of breath? Not thinking it was an actual heart issue. So yeah, medicines didn't work and we ended up in the ER on a Friday. Of course you wouldn't stay the night. At the end of Kai's flag football all day Saturday, you looked at me and said, I'm still in a fib. Because you were doing it with the watch, I was like, if you're not out of a fib when we're getting ready to go to church tomorrow morning, we're going to the hospital. Thankfully you agreed. We went to the hospital, numbers were out of whack. Heartbeat was out of whack. Your ejection fracture of how the blood was pumping or whatever was 30%, it wasn't much. Supposed to be 100%, obviously. We ended up staying in the hospital for 4 nights, where they actually had to cardiovert you and shock you back to a normal rhythm. That sadly lasted, 24 hours? Maybe 48. After 4 days we go home, 2 days later you're back in a fib. Man, I was stressed. Now again, all we can say is thank goodness Undertaker got the surgery he needed, and is seemingly doing well following what could only be described as being a seriously crazy WrestleMania 41 weekend, and it's actually wild that Taker would end up getting surgery for a serious health scare just hours after attending the 2025 Hall of Fame ceremony, where he welcomed Michelle to the stage for her induction. We have been losing way too many wrestling legends recently, so thank God Taker pulled through, but a very scary situation nonetheless. Now, former WWE Champion Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley in AEW, was recently urged to return to WWE by the fan favorite Karrion Kross, who had talked a bit about Moxley during a recent appearance on the Battleground podcast the other day. Kross basically shared his history with Jon Moxley, who he had called out for a match after Moxley had left WWE in 2019, and towards the end made it clear that he wants to face Jon Moxley or Dean Ambrose in WWE, hoping that one day Ambrose returns home, revealing, quote, "I didn't know him. I put out a promo attempting to pique intrigue to see if that's a match people wanted. They wanted it. He didn't know me, I didn't know him. I really wanted to work with him as soon as I found out that he wasn't signed. And he showed up and we didn't know each other. We worked, and then as soon as we got backstage, it feels, I don't know. It feels weird talking about somebody else giving you compliments about your work, but he was. He was very complimentary, and that's where that conversation began. And not to stir the pot, but I just, I want Jon to be happy wherever he is. I do hope one day that he does come back to WWE, because I think it would be insane. I think it would be insane, and I would think a lot of people think that. I would love to compete with him here so we can finish what we started. That's what I will say. No doubt Dean Ambrose returning to WWE is something that a lot of wrestling fans would love to see, and it's honestly something that needs to happen soon, because if you weren't aware, a stat was recently shared that by the time the end of October comes around, Jon Moxley will have spent more time in AEW than in WWE, which is actually insane to think about. While Ambrose returning to WWE may not happen anytime soon, we do hope Jon returns at least once before he hangs up the boots. It needs to happen. We think it's safe to say that the alliance between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu came to a crashing halt once and for all at Money in the Bank this past weekend, because Jacob Fatu essentially cost Solo the Money in the Bank briefcase and finally turned his back on him. However, while Solo Sikoa is likely still seething from the events that transpired at Money in the Bank, Solo's clearly wasting no time replacing Jacob in his new Bloodline faction, because for those of you unaware, Hikuleo is reportedly expected to be backstage at SmackDown tomorrow night, suggesting that perhaps Solo is planning to replace Jacob with New Japan standout Hikuleo, with eWrestlingNews.com reporting, quote, "A new face may be arriving on WWE television as soon as this week." PW Insider is reporting that NJPW standout Hikuleo is expected to be backstage at Friday's episode of WWE SmackDown in Lexington, Kentucky. Although he signed with WWE nearly a year ago and was originally designated for NXT, Hikuleo never appeared on the brand. According to sources, WWE has long considered him a main roster caliber talent, and plans now appear to confirm that, with NXT seemingly being skipped entirely. Amid the ongoing chaos within the Bloodline storyline, there's growing speculation that Hikuleo could debut as part of that angle. The son of WWE legend Haku, Hikuleo spent nearly a decade in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he held multiple titles and also made appearances in AEW and TNA. Now let us know down in the comment section below if you guys feel Hikuleo is a good replacement for Jacob Fatu in Solo's new Bloodline.